Hi everyone, we're back here today with Penwood. We're going to be doing one of my favorite things to actually cook, and that's some Cowboy Baked Beans. We're going to do it on the big green egg today, and I got this recipe quite a few years ago from Chris Marks with 3 Little Pigs. We just modified it a little bit here for it, but it's been a great recipe. We do classes about 12 times a year. When we do the beans a couple of times in those classes, it's the #1 thing for people wanting a recipe for it. So we're going to post a recipe of it later on our video. But we're going to go ahead now and get started getting the egg fired up. Then we'll come back. We'll start prepping the bacon and the onions and beans and getting everything going. So we have the large big green egg sitting here. We have it filled up with natural lump charcoal by Clay Hill Cookers, very clean. It's their sugar maple version today. We're just going to take 1 fire starter, put it down in here a little bit, light it up. Make sure our vents on the bottom is open. And just let this cook. We're going to let it burn for about 10 minutes or so till that fire starter's burn up, and then we'll close the lid and let it continue to heat up. So we're going to get started here. I'm going to do some prep on the bacon, cutting that up, cutting the onion up. Then we'll be back and start putting everything together here. All right, so we got the ingredients all set up here. We've got about 1 pound of hickory bacon. Hickory or apple, either one works really good. I got about 2 pounds of Hamburger here. Half of a large onion, typically about a small medium onion, depending on your taste for that. But we had large onions, so we have half of that. About 1.5 cups of brown sugar that we'll be using today. 3 Little Pigs barbecue sauce, a touch of cherry from 3 Little Pigs in Memphis. Have our kidney beans, which we drained, some pork and beans, a little bit of mustard, a little bit of maple syrup that we'll be adding in. So we have the egg ready here. We have our Dutch oven in here, heated up. So we're going to go ahead and get the bacon in, get that rendered down. We are using in here today part of Egg's 5-piece expander kit that they come out with last year, and we'll do a little video for people that have them or looking at them, the versatility and how to use all the components with that. So we're using part of it today. With that, how we have that is it gets us up away from the fire a little bit more, cooking more to the top with the way I have it set up here today. And we got some bacon in here cut up in small pieces. Just going to let that go ahead and start cooking and render down a little bit, and then we will be back to get the Hamburger and onions added in. Alright, so we're back. We got the bacon rendered down. It's cooked well, so what we're going to do is go ahead and get the Hamburger, our onions, the 3 Little Pigs Memphis seasoning. So we're going to do 1 tablespoon of that in here. Now I let the grease, from the bacon rendering down, I let that in. I like that extra in there. You can drain it if you want, but I always let that in. Our onion in there, our Hamburger in here. And I also have what's left here on the cutting board is some brisket. We did some brisket, and well, it just adds some extra flavor in there. So we're going to go ahead and put that brisket in when we put the beans and the rest of the ingredients into it. We're just going to stir this up, get it mixed up. Gonna let this go and let that Hamburger brown and the onions cook a little bit. Then we'll be back and get the rest of it in there and just let it do its thing. Alright, so we're back. The Hamburger and onions have cooked in here a while. So it's time to go ahead and add everything else into here. Everything's browned up good. So we're going to go ahead now, put our brisket in there. Going to do 2 tablespoons of touch of cherry. Have 1.5 cups of brown sugar. Do about 1/3 to 1/2 a bottle of the Kansas City Competition barbecue sauce. Then usually it's about 1/2 a bottle of this. I have this in here that wasn't quite finished. So we're going to put some of this in, and then I have another one to put in. Maple syrup. Now we're going to go ahead and start adding our beans, the kidney beans which we pre-drained. And pork and beans which we let the juice in the pork and beans. One thing when you're doing on the egg, at this point, you know, we've had this lid open, stirring it, mixing it around. You want to shut your dampers down on the bottom pretty hard because you will get hot. And then we put some mustard on. That's it. Now we'll just stir this all up quick. And we'll come back here in about 1/2 an hour and just give it another stir. We're going to get this shut down, let that fire die down a little bit. And that's pretty much it. Now we'll cook for 1.5 to 2 hours. I like to let it go and cook it down a little bit. I like when I do this thicker cowboy beans, so I tend to let mine cook down pretty hard. So probably about 2 hours. So we'll be back here in a little while. All right, so it's been about 2 hours. Letting these beans cook, and we're gonna go ahead and take them off. As I said before, we do stir them about every half hour or so. Scrape the sides a little bit. We tried running the egg right around 350 today. You know, when you're starting to put all the ingredients in, you do want to close that bottom air vent down so that cuts down a little bit on the air as you have that lid open, and it'll settle itself back down. We run right between 350 and 400. But there you have it, our Cowboy beans, and we're gonna go ahead and we did some brisket here the other day with it, and a little bit of potato salad. Serve that up. And there you go.